Hello from Hanoi. It's great to see you on this Sunday morning edition of VTVV News. I'm Hainam with the latest headlines. After being elected by the National Assembly, new cabinet members commit to action for 2016. Vietnamese low-cost airlines to face increasingly fierce competition. And the Global Volunteer Day in Hanoi connects Vietnamese and foreign youngsters. Now, top news of the hour. The National Assembly has passed a resolution on the election of 3 deputy prime ministers and 18 ministers and cabinet members on April 9th. The 3 new deputy prime ministers include Trương Hòa Bình with 90% votes, Vương Đình Huệ with 89.5%, and Trịnh Đình Dũng with 81.8%. The resolution on land use adjustment and plan to 2020 was passed. Accordingly, the area of agricultural land will be increased to 306,000 hectares in order to meet the demand of socio-economic development and to ensure food security. The National Assembly also passed amended draft laws on the signing, accession and implementation of international agreements and a resolution of approval on diplomatic notes on visas between Vietnam and the U.S. After being elected by the National Assembly, some new cabinet members spoke to the press with determination to strongly promote integration as well as ensure a better life for citizens. Let's hear more in the following.
The EC issue, corruption, waste, crime, traffic accidents, smuggling and food safety are the biggest concerns. After completing the government's apparatus, the Prime Minister will assign specific missions to cabinet members in order to boost the implementation of government resolutions. We will focus on resolving the issues that the society cares about the most. As the assistant to the Prime Minister, I'm assigned to help remove barriers for business activities, improve the business environment, mobilize all resources for development, and restructure the agricultural and service sectors for better quality and competitiveness in the regional market, especially in the context of global economic integration. The Ministry of Industry and Trade has determined that our task in 2016 will be complex and heavy. In the context of the world's unfavorable conditions in trade, we have to concentrate on carrying the objectives of macroeconomic, including the growth target of industrial production, in order to contribute to the overall development of the country. I appreciate being trusted by National Assembly with the highest vote. In the coming time, together with the cabinet members, we will focus on implementing the 12 National Party Congress resolutions and continue to improve policies for the socio-economic development of the ethnic groups and mountainous areas.
In other news, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc affirmed that Vietnam always expects comprehensive cooperation with the World Bank during a meeting with Country Director Victoria Qua Qua on Saturday. He suggested that both sides further strengthen information exchange to consolidate bilateral cooperation, especially in areas like climate change adaptation, public governance, anti-corruption, and business environment improvement. Qua Qua congratulated Phúc on his election as the new Prime Minister of Vietnam, affirming that the World Bank stands ready to help the country fulfill its socio-economic development goals towards a modern industrial nation. Qua Qua suggested the Vietnamese government continue drastic institutional reform to create an equal playground for different types of businesses. This is particularly important as Vietnam has joined a number of free trade agreements, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the Vietnam-EU trade deal. The same day, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc met Japanese Ambassador Fukada Hiroshi, the first guest of the new government, during a reception in Hanoi. The Prime Minister informed his guest that the Vietnamese National Assembly approved the appointment of 21 cabinet members. He assured the ambassador that he and his cabinet members will attend the extended G7 summit in Japan this May at the invitation of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and hoped that during the event, Japan would hold bilateral meetings with Vietnam to extensively discuss ways to boost the Vietnam-Japan strategic partnership. The ambassador wished that the Vietnamese and Japanese prime ministers would hold talks to strengthen economic ties on the sidelines of the expanded G7 event, sympathizing with the Vietnamese government and people over the serious impacts of natural disasters, especially saltwater intrusion in the Central Highlands and Mekong Delta regions. Ambassador Fukuda Hiroshi said that the Japanese government wants to help Vietnam improve its capacity for dealing with such weather phenomenon. Recently, the Ministry of Transport has proposed to grant air transport licenses to 2 new airlines. People are concerned about this issue and its possible burden on infrastructure and capital. Many are also worried about how new airlines will cope with fierce competition as Vietnam joins ASEAN Open Sky.
Several airlines have been reducing their ticket prices, even to zero. Passengers will benefit, but in the meantime, airline corporations have to compete with each other to attract customers, especially as 2 new airlines are going to be opened.
Vietnam has officially joined ASEAN Open Sky since the beginning of this year, so there is no limit to the number of air transport licenses. It means there could be 10 or more airlines instead of the current 5, offering passengers more choices. Then airlines will have to compete in terms of price and service quality.
Besides competition, infrastructure capacity has also caused concern.
Among 21 airports, only Tân Sơn Nhất Airport is running at its full capacity. From now until 2020, the number of passengers and cargo might be doubled. As such, granting more air transport licenses is necessary.
Compared to Singapore with 5 airlines, Malaysia with 9, and Thailand with 10, 5 or 10 airlines operating in Vietnam are not many considering the population, according to experts. However, several airlines went bankrupt due to low prices such as Indochina, Chai Thien, or Air Mekong. These are examples for new airlines to consider if they are not sufficient in terms of finance, human resources, and technology.
Mango will follow the footsteps of lychee to become the second Vietnamese fruit to enter the Australian market. According to the Vietnamese embassy in Australia, the Australian government is finalizing own procedures and paperwork to authorize Vietnamese mango imports. This is a follow-up to the recent recognition of the irradiation method. Australia is one of the most difficult markets to enter with highly selective standards. This achievement shows the promise of opening other markets around the world to Vietnamese mangoes. Phu Quoc Island in the southern province of Kiên Giang has long been considered as an ideal place to visit in Vietnam. The island's tourism sector is very developed, bringing a large amount of revenue to the locality. Many projects are now being carried out to change the island's image and exploit more of its tourism potential. More in the following.
This is Vinpearl Resort in Phu Quoc Island. Not long ago, this became the largest resort and recreation complex in Phu Quoc Island, covering 30 hectares. Besides the Vinpearl, there are many other million-dollar projects here from investors such as Sun Group and BIM Group.
Phu Quoc is provided with preferential mechanisms that no other place in the country can receive. For example, tourists can stay in Phu Quoc longer without having to extend their visa.
Such preferential policies have created a new image for Phu Quoc Island. This is why the place nicknamed Paradise of Convalescence has attracted over 300,000 tourists. This number has increased by 100% compared to the previous period, bringing over $300 million in revenue for the trading and tourism sector in the region.
Our first impression was that it was very warm temperature because in our countries it is springtime and it's about 10 or 15 degrees in our country.
I think Phú Quốc is a very good place for tourism, with very beautiful scenery and a clean atmosphere.
Despite having many advantages, the island still needs a further infrastructure development to attract more investment.
Still to come on VTV News, Global Volunteer Day, an event in Hanoi to connect Vietnamese and foreign youngsters. And later, let's explore Vietnam in the 1980s through the eyes of the French journalists.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
You're watching VTV News Live. Nearly 2,000 tons of rice have been given to needy people in 6 drought-hit districts of the southern central province of Ninh Thuận. Rice donation from the National Food Reserve is being carried out according to the government's decision recently issued on April 4th. Currently, severe droughts have seriously affected agriculture and the life of people in Ninh Thuận province. So far, nearly 130,000 locals are suffering from hunger. Each person will receive 15 kilos of rice per month under the rice donation program. Traffic safety education for children has become a priority, as education at an early age will help effectively raise their awareness. However, turning mundane regulations into an interesting subject for children is not easy. In the following report, we'll look at a program which has helped thousands of students learn more about traffic safety over the last 11 years.
These students are performing a play called Our School's Traffic Story. They are from Bắc Giang province and are participating in a program held in Cần Thơ city to learn about traffic safety.
I feel happy in the program. I understand more about traffic safety, and I will share my knowledge with my family and friends.
This year's program drew the participation of 100 students from 10 provinces and cities. With the slogan, Learn to Play, Play to Learn, the students participated in several contests about traffic safety, including art performances and painting. Each team carried meaningful messages calling people to follow traffic regulations.
Each year, we talk with the Ministry of Education and Training and the National Traffic Safety Committee to find new activities that will help raise students' knowledge on traffic safety. This year, our branches in provinces will work directly with local education units to make the program more practical.
The event is part of the program called Toyota and I Learn Traffic Safety, co-organized by Toyota Vietnam, the Ministry of Education and Training, and the National Traffic Safety Committee. Over the last 11 years, the program has helped bring traffic safety knowledge to thousands of students and provided over 7.5 million books on traffic safety.
We have conducted the traffic safety program at schools, especially primary schools. We think that traffic culture should be nurtured at an early age.
In the future, we will continue traffic safety education in school. Through extracurricular activities, we want to raise students' awareness about traffic safety.
With significant results, the Ministry of Education and Training has decided to combine the content of the program with lessons about traffic safety at schools nationwide. This will hopefully contribute to building a safe traffic environment for Vietnamese people.
An event for volunteers all over the world called Global Volunteer Day was held in Hanoi on Saturday by Volunteer for Peace Vietnam Club in cooperation with the British Council. This is an annual event which aims to connect Vietnamese and foreign volunteers to form a global volunteer network. Hồng Nhung has more.
More than 40 volunteers from 20 countries and 800 Vietnamese volunteers participated in the 2016 Global Volunteer Day. They share with the others their voluntary activities through their booths that portray the special cultural features of their countries. Minh Tú is a Vietnamese volunteer. She has just returned to Vietnam from her volunteer trip in Estonia. Tú participated in these events last years. However, she feels more excited this year as she has the chance to share with other volunteers her memorable experiences while doing her own volunteer work for the past 3 months.
After 3 months of volunteering in Estonia, I participated in 2 projects related to farm work and education. I strongly believe that there's no difference between Vietnamese volunteers and foreign ones. I'm very happy to join the Global Volunteer Day, share my experiences with others and inspire them.
Like Tú, Paula is a German volunteer who has worked in Vietnam for 9 months. Apart from teaching English for students on the outskirts of Hanoi, Paula's main activities is taking care of young patients at the National Institute of Hematology and Blood Transfusions. But this is the first time she has taken part in Global Volunteer Day.
This is a huge event. It's so amazing. There are so many different booths, and I'd really like to get to know different cultures, and that there are so many different volunteers from other countries than Vietnam as well.
With the theme Active Citizens, Peaceful Engagement, Sustainable Living, Global Volunteer Day this year has connected all volunteers in Vietnam and around the world who have a strong passion for volunteer work. Moreover, it has also inspired those who intend to do these works.
At Global Volunteer Day this year, we would like to raise young volunteers' awareness about peace, since it's always a hot issue. I want all the volunteers to realize that they are an essential part of peacekeeping activities with their volunteer works.
The money gained from the ticket sale during the Global Volunteer Day this year will be used to raise funds for Bring On the Water, Open the Future project, which is currently underway in Yên Bái province. This project aims to provide students here with enough water and allow them to continue their learning.
A photo exhibition titled Vietnam in the 80s kicked off in the French Cultural Center L'Espace in Hanoi on Friday night. The exhibition showcases photos taken by former AFP journalist Michel Blanchard, the only Western correspondent in Vietnam in the 1980s. The exhibition brings back memories of post-war Vietnam.
This 4-year-old boy bathing in a bucket on the sidewalk is now the father of 2 children. Phong and the other children living on Phung Khắc Khoan Street at that time fondly remember their friendly foreign neighbor who liked to take photos. Michel Blanchard.
He sends me a lot of photos. I have kept them and I feel so happy to see him now. I was very lucky to be in Vietnam when the country had not yet been open and people's lives were still difficult. Few reporters could come to Vietnam, so I want to share with people my unforgettable memories of the Vietnamese people and the country through these photos.
An electric train honking in the old quarter. The flower market during the Tet holiday. People waiting to get water near Trúc Bạch Lake or relaxing in a coffee shop. All of these images feature the simple and peaceful life of people in Hanoi in the 1980s.
These photos are very valuable. Children can imagine how their parents' lives were at that time.
These 50 images are among thousands of black and white photos Michel Blanchard took in Vietnam during the time he stayed in Hanoi, as well as his trips from northern to southern Vietnam. Michel Blanchard's Vietnam in the 80s photo collection caught the attention of audiences at the 2 exhibitions in Paris before they were showcased in Vietnam. The exhibition in Hanoi will last until April the 30th.
And now it's time for us to look back at the highlighted events of the last week.
Over the past week, National Assembly elected new key leaders. Nguyen Xuan Phuc, member of the Politburo and then Deputy Prime Minister, was elected as Prime Minister on April 7th, with the support of 446 out of 490, or over 90% of the total National Assembly deputies. The National Assembly also elected National Assembly Chairwoman, Vice State President, Vice National Assembly Chairman, Chief Justice of the Supreme People's Court, Prosecutor General of the Supreme People's Procuracy, Chairman of the National Assembly Ethnic Council, Chairs of 5 National Assembly committees and the State Auditor General. On April 9th, the National Assembly passed a resolution on the election of 3 Deputy Prime Ministers and 18 Ministers.
Vietnam requested China to cancel its oil drilling plan and promptly remove its Haiyang Shiyo 981 drilling rig out of the mouth of the Gulf of Tonkin, whose delineation is under negotiation. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lê Hải Bình said at a press conference held on Thursday. Also on Thursday, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lê Hải Bình extended Vietnam's response to China switching on a lighthouse on Subi Reef off Vietnam's Spratly archipelago. He said that Vietnam requests China to immediately stop its violations of Vietnam's sovereignty in the Paracel and Spratly archipelagos. Vietnam once again affirmed that the country has full legal foundations and historical evidence proving its indisputable sovereignty over the 2 archipelagos. The same day, a Vietnamese Ministry of Foreign Affairs representative met and handed a diplomatic note to a Chinese embassy representative to object to the move.
ASEAN member countries need to prioritise economic restructuring. Finance ministers insisted this at the 20th ASEAN Finance Ministers meeting, otherwise called AFMM, which kicked off in Vientiane, Laos on April 4th. Vietnam's Finance Minister Dinh Tiên Dũng reaffirms the role of economic restructuring in the sustainable development of the ASEAN bloc. Delegates also agreed that ASEAN member countries should continue to facilitate AEC Blueprint 2025. On the same day, the second ASEAN Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors joint meeting also took place to discuss intra-bloc economic and financial cooperation amid regional and international difficulties.
Water released from the reservoirs in China and Laos has reached the Mekong Delta region in Vietnam in a bid to prevent the long-lasting drought and saltwater intrusion. The General Department of Irrigation has asked local authorities to instruct farmers to take fresh water from the source. But despite this change, localities 25 to 35 kilometers inland from the coast should not begin rice seedling until the region experiences rain.
The foreign direct investment inflow into Vietnam in the first quarter rose to $2.74 billion, up 125.2% compared to the same period last year, according to the Foreign Investment Agency under the Ministry of Planning and Investment. As of March 20th, the authorities granted licenses to 473 new FDI projects across the country. In total, new investment and increased investments are worth $4.02 billion, up 119.1% compared to the same period last year. The processing and machinery sector and real estate sector tops the list in attracting FDI projects in Vietnam so far.
Vietnam officially detected the first 2 cases of Zika infection in Khánh Hòa province and Ho Chi Minh City. In Khánh Hòa, authorities circled the area where the patient lived to spray and collect mosquito samples. Ho Chi Minh City's Department of Health requested the Center for International Health Quarantine to tighten surveillance at Tân Sơn Nhất International Airport. The center will cooperate with security forces at the airport to monitor passenger temperatures and gather information from the passenger traveling from the affected areas. Anyone showing suspicious symptoms will be immediately transported to the hospital for tropical diseases for quarantine for 12 days.
President of the Vietnam Fatherland Front, otherwise called VFF, Nguyễn Thiện Nhân conveyed his congratulations to the Khmer community nationwide on the occasion of the traditional Chul Chnam Thmay New Year festival. The VFF leader also expressed his belief that the Khmer ethnic groups will continue to uphold their traditions and unity to build their rural areas and developed urban areas. Chul Chnam Thmay is one of the most important festivals of the year for the Khmer people. One of the most important practices in Chul Chnam Thmay is the Buddha bathing ceremony. Various traditional activities such as folk games, dances and singing are also held during the festival.
And just before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the weather updates. And that's it for this morning edition of VTV News. You can find out more about our broadcast program at vtv4.vn and youtube.com/vtv4go. We'll be back with more updated news at 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. Hanoi time. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.